Love is a wonderful thing, but it is not always simple. There are moments when you feel like you understand everything, but then there are times when you feel confused and lost. So how to overcome the challenges in love? You can learn more about a man in one date than in months of texting. Sometimes, it's not what he says, but what he reveals without meaning to. The way he talks about others, how he responds to boundaries, the energy he brings to the table, all of it matters. Because the first date is not just a romantic meeting. It's a glimpse into your future if you stay. So before you give someone a second chance, ask yourself this: is this the kind of man who builds you up or slowly tears you down? Let's talk about the 6 types of men you should never see again. Welcome to the channel, Sophia's Knowledge, and my name is Sophia. This is where we will explore, learn, and share valuable lessons about love. In today's video, Sophia will reveal to you 6 types of men you should never see again after the first date. Let's explore with Sophia the secrets to building a strong and meaningful love. Before we begin, find a quiet place, put on your headphones and relax. Let all your worries go away, and let the messages in this video help you calm down and feel the most complete. Are you ready? Let's start now. Type 1. The man who only talks about himself. The first date should be a conversation, not a monologue. But have you ever sat across from someone who turned it into a one-man show? He talks endlessly about his achievements, his job, his hobbies, his ex, his dog, his favorite gym routine, and the restaurant where he once met a celebrity, but never once does he ask about you. That's the man you should not see again. At first glance, this type of man might seem confident, charming, and self-assured. He knows what he wants, he speaks clearly, he has stories to tell. But pay close attention, because there's a fine line between confidence and narcissism. And when someone can't stop talking about themselves, it's usually a reflection of deeper issues that can create major problems later on. 1. It's not confidence, it's ego. Some women mistake this kind of behavior for confidence. He seems so sure of himself, doesn't he? He takes control of the conversation, he seems to have it all together. But real confidence doesn't need to dominate others. It listens. It asks. It values mutual exchange. When a man spends the entire date showcasing his own life without a single moment of genuine interest in yours, that's not confidence, it's ego. And ego rarely makes room for emotional intimacy, partnership, or growth. He's not building a bridge to get to know you. He's building a stage to be admired. 2. A preview of future conversations. First dates often offer a preview of what the relationship dynamic will look like if it continues. So ask yourself, do you want to be in a relationship where you're just the audience? Where your voice is constantly overshadowed by his need to be heard? If he can't give you the spotlight on the first date, don't expect him to do it later. This behavior won't change, it'll only become more exhausting over time. A man who only talks about himself likely sees relationships as a platform for self-validation rather than connection. 3. Lack of emotional intelligence. One of the most telling signs of emotional intelligence is the ability to listen, not just to hear words, but to care about what's behind them. A man who constantly centers himself lacks the basic empathy needed for meaningful connection. He may not notice when you withdraw during the conversation. He may not ask you questions or follow up on what you say. And when you do speak, he may quickly turn the conversation back to himself. These are red flags. Emotional intelligence is not optional in a healthy relationship, it's essential. 4. You deserve to be seen and heard. Let's be clear, you are not asking for too much. You are not being overly sensitive for expecting basic curiosity and respect. You deserve to be asked how your day was. You deserve someone who's excited to know your thoughts, your dreams, and your stories. When someone doesn't make the effort to ask about you, what they're really saying is, "You're not important to me." Whether it's intentional or unconscious, it's a form of disrespect. And it often leads to relationships where one person gives and the other just takes. 5. He's in love with his own reflection. There's a reason this behavior feels draining. You're not dating a person. You're dating a performance. Every story he tells is rehearsed. Every comment is meant to impress. He's not building a connection, he's selling a product, himself. And while he might come off as interesting and worldly, his inability to ask about you reveals the truth. He's not looking for a partner. He's looking for an admirer, someone to boost his already inflated self-image. That's not love, it's self-obsession in disguise. 6. What a healthy conversation looks like. In contrast, a healthy first date feels like a dance. He asks, you answer. You share, he reflects. There's balance, curiosity, and even moments of silence that feel comfortable. You leave the date feeling heard, not drained. A man who's genuinely interested in you will want to know about your passions, your fears, your favorite childhood memory, or the book that changed your life. He won't just talk about himself, he'll create space for you to shine. And that's how a real connection begins. 7. The silent warning. Pay attention to how you feel after the date. Are you energized or exhausted? Do you feel seen or invisible? Sometimes the biggest red flag isn't what someone says, it's how they make you feel. If you walk away from a first date feeling like your presence didn't matter, trust that feeling. That's your intuition warning you. It's saying, this man may be charming, but he lacks the core qualities you need: respect, curiosity, empathy, and emotional presence. 8. Don't try to fix him. You might feel tempted to give him another chance. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he didn't realize. But the truth is, a man who dominates a conversation without once checking in on you is showing you who he is. Believe it. It is not your job to teach a grown man how to be curious, how to be respectful, or how to carry a conversation. That's emotional labor you don't owe anyone. Especially not someone who couldn't even ask how your day was. You don't need to wait for more proof. If he makes the first date all about him, the second date will be no different. And the relationship, if it happens, will feel one-sided, emotionally draining, and unfulfilling. The man who only talks about himself is easy to spot, and even easier to walk away from. Don't stay out of politeness or false hope. Your time is valuable, and your voice deserves to be heard. Move on, and save your energy for someone who actually sees you. What do you think about this? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. I look forward to hearing from you and discussing further. Don't forget to like if you find this content useful and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future posts. Thank you very much. Let's continue together. Type 2. The man who looks down on waitstaff or others. There's a subtle but powerful test that often reveals a person's true character, not how they treat you, but how they treat people they believe they don't need to impress. On a first date, watch how he treats the waiter, the hostess, the barista, the parking attendant, or even someone who walks by and accidentally bumps into him. Because sometimes, the most dangerous red flags are not the loud ones. They're the quiet ones hidden in everyday moments. This is the man who snaps his fingers at the server, who complains loudly about minor inconveniences, who acts entitled and irritated if things aren't exactly how he wants them. He might throw sarcastic comments or roll his eyes when he doesn't get instant attention. And at first, you might laugh it off. He's just having a bad day, you tell yourself. But don't ignore it. Because how he treats others is a direct reflection of how he will eventually treat you. 1. Disrespect is never selective. One of the biggest lies we tell ourselves early on is, "But he's nice to me." Of course he is, it's the first date. He's trying to make a good impression. But that polished version won't last. Eventually, when he gets comfortable, the way he treats others will become the way he treats you. If he's rude to the server, he'll eventually be rude to you. If he's condescending to people he considers beneath him, one day, when he's upset or stressed, he'll use that same tone with you. That moment you saw him act with arrogance? That wasn't a glitch, it was a preview. 2. Entitlement reveals a fragile ego. At the heart of this behavior is often a deep insecurity. People who belittle others tend to use superiority as a defense mechanism. He needs to feel above someone else in order to feel good about himself. So he puts people down, whether subtly or openly, just to lift himself up. This kind of man is not confident, he's insecure. And instead of healing or growing, he masks his vulnerability with arrogance. But here's the thing, a fragile ego doesn't build a strong relationship. It demands validation, controls conversations, and lashes out when things don't go its way. 3. The danger of emotional abuse in disguise. This behavior may start subtly. Maybe it's a sarcastic joke aimed at the cashier. Maybe it's an impatient sigh when the food takes 5 extra minutes. Maybe it's a dismissive glance at someone who asks him for directions. Small moments, right? But don't underestimate them. These are glimpses into a deeper mindset, one where people are judged based on status, where kindness is conditional, and where empathy is optional. In relationships, these qualities can quickly escalate into manipulation, emotional abuse, or controlling behavior. 4. Respect shouldn't need to be earned. Here's the truth, respect is not something you only give to those who deserve it. It's something you give because it reflects who you are. A kind man treats everyone with dignity, not because of who they are, but because of who he is. Watch for the man who says please and thank you without thinking. The one who looks people in the eye. The one who acknowledges the human being behind the job title. That's the man who will also respect your boundaries, your emotions, and your worth. Even when it's hard. 5. Do you feel proud or embarrassed? Ask yourself a simple but powerful question after the date. If a camera had recorded how he acted in public, would you be proud to show it to your friends? Or would you feel the need to explain his behavior, make excuses, or hide your discomfort? If you found yourself cringing inside when he snapped at the waiter or insulted the bartender, that's your intuition speaking. Listen to it. Disrespect is like rust. It starts small, but it spreads fast, especially in relationships. 6. Relationships need empathy. Empathy is the glue of any relationship. It's what makes someone pause and think, how would this make the other person feel? A man who lacks empathy in public is unlikely to develop it in private. If he can't put himself in someone else's shoes for 5 minutes, how will he understand your pain, your fears, or your joys? The truth is, a man without empathy will never truly be present for you emotionally. He might show up physically, but he won't support you, comfort you, or grow with you. 7. You're not overreacting. Some women hesitate to walk away after seeing this kind of behavior. They wonder if they're being too picky, too harsh, too quick to judge. But here's the thing, you're not overreacting. You're observing, wisely. You're noticing the small cracks before they become emotional earthquakes. Disrespect isn't a minor personality flaw, it's a deal breaker. And the earlier you catch it, the more heartache you save yourself in the future. 8. Don't confuse charm with character. Some of these men are smooth. They dress well. They speak well. They flirt well. But charm without character is a dangerous cocktail. Because what looks like confidence on the surface can easily turn into control, criticism, or cruelty when challenged. Look beyond the surface. Look at how he talks to the barista. Look at how he treats a child who drops a toy nearby. Look at whether he says thank you to the person clearing the table. That's the real man behind the charm, and that's the version you'll end up with. The man who looks down on others reveals a fundamental truth about himself. He values status over kindness, appearance over substance, and control over connection. That's not a man you want by your side. So if your first date includes arrogance, entitlement, or condescension toward others, take it as your sign to walk away. You don't need to wait for it to get worse, because it will. And your time, your dignity, and your heart are too valuable for that. Choose someone who treats everyone with respect. Because if he sees worth in others, he'll see the priceless worth in you. If you are still watching the video, do not hesitate to comment continue. Leave your thoughts and questions below in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your opinions, and do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel so that Sophia has more motivation to create more good and meaningful videos. Let's continue together. Type 3. The man who badmouths his ex. There's a strange discomfort that creeps in when a man starts talking about his ex on the very first date. At first, it might sound like casual sharing or just storytelling. But then it shifts, the bitterness in his tone, the way he rolls his eyes, the blame he places so easily. Before you even finish your appetizer, you already know more about his past relationship than you do about his hopes for the future. This is the man who hasn't let go. And worse, he doesn't even realize it. 1. Talking about the past isn't the problem, it's how he talks. We all have a past. There's nothing wrong with someone mentioning they were once in love, or that they've learned from a previous relationship. But when the tone turns angry, mocking, or overly negative, that's when you should pay attention. A man who speaks about his ex with contempt is telling you more about himself than about her. Maybe he calls her crazy, toxic, clingy, or manipulative. He paints himself as the innocent one, the victim, the one who did everything right but still got hurt. But here's the truth, mature people don't use first dates as therapy sessions or as stages to humiliate someone they once cared about. 2. He's not over her, he's still fighting that relationship. You can't move forward if you're still dragging your past behind you. And when a man can't stop talking negatively about his ex, what he's really saying is, I'm still emotionally connected to that relationship. Not in love, maybe. But attached, through blame, resentment, and unfinished emotional business. And trust this, a man who's still fighting his past can't fully show up for the present. If you choose to stay, you may end up being the rebound, the therapist, or the emotional bandage. And none of those roles are fair to you. 3. Lack of emotional maturity. The way a man talks about the woman he once loved is a mirror of his emotional maturity. When someone has truly healed, they can speak of their past with calm, clarity, and even gratitude for the lessons learned. But a man who throws his ex under the bus at the first chance is showing you that he hasn't done the inner work. He hasn't reflected, he hasn't grown, and he hasn't taken responsibility. He's still in blame mode. And if things ever go wrong between you two, guess who'll be the next villain in his story? 4. Don't be fooled by warning signs about her. Sometimes, these men disguise their rants as helpful warnings. He might say, just so you know, I'm a little cautious because my ex used me, or I've been hurt before, so I need someone who's not like her. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the catch, healthy people don't project their trauma onto new relationships. They process it, grow from it, and come in with self-awareness, not suspicion. If he's constantly comparing you to her, you'll never get to be your own person. You'll always be living in the shadow of someone else's mistakes. 5. Bitterness is not a badge of honor. Some men wear their heartbreak like a badge. They use it to justify their cynicism, their coldness, or their emotional walls. But bitterness doesn't make someone deep. It just makes them stuck. The man who's still bitter about his ex might say he's just being honest or keeping it real. But really, he's carrying resentment like a shield, trying to protect himself from future hurt without realizing he's hurting others in the process. You can't build love on bitterness. And you shouldn't have to fix what someone else broke in him. 6. Listen to the way he tells the story. Stories reveal truths. If he talks about how everything was her fault, how she was the problem, how he did everything right, be cautious. One-sided narratives are rarely honest. Relationships are complex, and it takes two people to make or break them. A man who takes no accountability for the end of his past relationship is likely to repeat the same patterns. And one day, if things don't work out, he may be sitting across from another woman, blaming you. 7. The emotional energy speaks volumes. Even if he doesn't say much about his ex, watch his energy. Does his mood shift? Does he get defensive or agitated? That emotional charge is your signal. It means there's still something unresolved. And unless he's actively doing the work to heal, that unresolved energy will find its way into your relationship. He might become suspicious, overly sensitive, or emotionally unavailable. And you'll find yourself paying for someone else's mistakes, walking on eggshells just to avoid triggering past wounds. 8. You're not a therapist, and this isn't a rehab center. Let's be very clear, you're not here to rescue him. You're not here to help him move on or learn to trust again. That's his responsibility. Your job is not to heal someone who hasn't even acknowledged that they're hurt. If a man hasn't done the emotional work to process his past, he shouldn't be dating. And you, no matter how nurturing you are, should not carry the emotional baggage he refuses to unpack. The man who badmouths his ex isn't ready for love. He's still entangled in blame, bitterness, and pain. And unless he does the inner work to heal, no new relationship, no matter how promising, can survive. So if your first date turns into a therapy session about the woman who ruined his life, that's your cue to walk away. You deserve someone who sees love as a lesson, not a battle. Someone who is present with you, not preoccupied with the past. Let him heal. Let him grow. But don't let him make your heart a battlefield for a war he hasn't finished fighting. Type 4. The man who pushes for physical intimacy too soon. First dates should be about connection, two people slowly getting to know each other, discovering shared values, exchanging stories, and building the foundation of trust. But what happens when a man tries to fast forward that process? When, instead of investing in your mind, he's fixated on your body? That's not romance, it's a warning sign. If a man is pushing for physical intimacy too soon, whether through touch, suggestive comments, or subtle pressure, it's not because the chemistry is too strong or because he just can't help it. It's because he lacks respect for your emotional boundaries and may not be interested in anything deeper. 1. Attraction without respect is dangerous. There's nothing wrong with chemistry. It's natural. It's exciting. It makes dating fun. But chemistry without respect? That's a recipe for emotional harm. A man who respects you will never make you feel uncomfortable or rushed. He won't test your limits just to satisfy his own desire. He'll prioritize your comfort over his impulses, and he'll be patient enough to earn your trust. But the man who pushes for intimacy too early? He's not trying to build connection, he's trying to bypass it. 2. You can tell a lot by his patience. Patience is a powerful indicator of a man's intentions. When a man is genuinely interested in you, not just what he can get from you, he's willing to take the time to truly understand who you are. He won't rush the process or treat physical closeness as a goal to achieve. If he's trying to move too quickly, it reveals his mindset. He sees you as an experience, not a person. And someone who's only interested in the thrill of physical contact is unlikely to invest in your emotional well-being when it really matters. 3. Manipulation comes in many forms. Not all pressure is obvious. Some men won't directly say what they want, they'll hint. They'll compliment your appearance in increasingly suggestive ways. They'll accidentally sit too close. They'll say things like, "I feel such a strong connection between us," or "I'm not like other guys," but their actions say otherwise. They'll make you feel like intimacy is the next logical step. And if you hesitate, they might act hurt, cold, or confused. That's not romance. That's subtle manipulation. And no real man will ever make you feel guilty for having boundaries. 4. He's testing what he can get away with. The first date isn't just about conversation, it's also a silent test. Not just of compatibility, but of boundaries. When a man pushes for physical contact early on, what he's really doing is measuring how far he can go and how soon. And the truth is, if you allow behavior that makes you uncomfortable, thinking it's not a big deal, he may continue testing those limits. A man who truly values you will never put you in that position to begin with. Because love doesn't push. Love respects. 5. He's not ready for emotional connection. Physical intimacy is often a shortcut for men who aren't emotionally available. They want the feeling of closeness without doing the real work to earn it. They skip the vulnerability, the deep talks, the emotional intimacy. Why? Because that takes effort. It requires empathy. It takes time. When a man rushes into the physical, he may not be capable of deeper connection, or worse, he may be avoiding it altogether. And that leaves you with someone who's physically present but emotionally absent. 6. A real man waits, because you're worth it. The right man doesn't need to rush anything. He's not afraid of getting to know the real you. He enjoys the slow dance of discovery. He respects your body because he respects your mind and your soul. He's not driven by his urges. He's guided by his values. He knows that true connection takes time to unfold. And he understands that trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild. So he waits. Not because he has to, but because you're worth waiting for. 7. Don't mistake pressure for passion. There's a common trap many women fall into, confusing pressure for passion. When a man acts like he needs you physically, it can feel flattering. It can feel exciting. But real passion respects boundaries. Real desire doesn't demand. It cherishes. If someone truly desires you, they'll make you feel safe. They'll make you feel seen. They won't guilt trip you, corner you, or make you question your values. Instead, they'll uplift you and let the relationship unfold naturally. 8. Your body is not a test you need to pass. Let's be very clear, your worth is not tied to how fast you give in. You don't owe anyone your body to prove that you're fun, interesting, modern, or desirable. And if a man makes you feel like you do, that's your cue to walk away. You are not difficult for wanting emotional connection first. You are not old-fashioned for expecting respect. You're wise. You're self-aware. You're protecting something sacred, your peace, your dignity, your heart. A man who pushes for physical intimacy too soon isn't moving fast because he's serious about you. He's moving fast because he's not. He's not interested in building a real foundation. He's interested in temporary satisfaction, and he's hoping you'll ignore that quiet voice inside you that's saying, something doesn't feel right. Listen to that voice. Honor it. Because it's not fear, it's wisdom. The man who's meant for you won't pressure you. He'll protect your pace, respect your boundaries, and make sure your heart feels just as safe as your body. And that's the kind of man worth waiting for. Type 5. The man with no clear goals in life. At first, he seems easygoing, maybe even refreshing. He isn't in a rush, doesn't stress about the future, and lives in the moment. But as the conversation unfolds, you start to notice the gaps. He doesn't really know what he wants. He has vague dreams, no plans, and no sense of direction. He's not lost in the middle of a journey, he's standing still, unsure of which road to take. This is the man with no clear goals in life. And while it might seem harmless in the beginning, dating someone who lacks ambition, structure, or purpose often turns into a slow and silent heartbreak. Because love doesn't just thrive on connection, it needs vision. 1. Ambition isn't about wealth, it's about direction. Let's be clear, having goals isn't about being rich, flashy, or obsessed with success. It's about purpose. It's about a man knowing what he's working toward, even if it's something humble. A man without direction isn't peaceful, he's passive. He isn't calm, he's drifting. A man who doesn't know where he's going will eventually take you nowhere. You'll find yourself carrying the emotional weight, the decisions, and the momentum in the relationship. And no matter how much love you give, it won't move the needle, because he's not even trying to push forward. 2. You'll end up playing the motivator, not the partner. When you date someone with no goals, you eventually take on the role of the motivator, the planner, the emotional cheerleader. At first, you think you're helping. You suggest ideas, offer encouragement, try to spark his potential. But slowly, it starts to drain you. You become the one who's always pushing, while he stays in place. He talks in circles, makes promises, starts projects but never finishes. And while you keep giving your energy, he keeps taking it. This imbalance isn't love. It's emotional labor. And it burns out even the strongest hearts. 3. A man without a plan lacks accountability. Without clear goals, there's no clear measure of growth. He can't tell you what he's building, what he's learning, or how he's evolving. And when life gets tough, which it always does, he won't have the internal structure to adapt, to overcome, or to stay grounded. This kind of man may be charming and warm, but he often deflects responsibility. He blames external factors, waits for the right time, or says things like "I'm just figuring it out." But months, or years, pass, and nothing really changes. He's still where he started, and now you're stuck right there with him. 4. Goals reflect emotional maturity. A man who sets and works toward his goals demonstrates emotional discipline. He knows that fulfillment requires effort, and he's willing to put in the work. Not just for himself, but for the future he wants to build with someone else. When a man avoids goals, he's often avoiding discomfort, challenge, and growth. He may fear failure or lack confidence, but instead of facing those fears, he avoids the path altogether. And that avoidance won't just affect his career or personal dreams, it will affect how he shows up in love. 5. You can't build a life with someone who doesn't want to build themselves. Partnership isn't just about feeling good together. It's about creating something greater than the sum of its parts. When two people with vision and drive come together, they elevate each other. They solve problems. They grow stronger. But if one person doesn't want to grow, evolve, or even try, the other is left carrying the relationship forward alone. And no matter how much love, patience, or support you give, it will never be enough to change someone who isn't willing to change themselves. 6. Don't confuse gentleness with readiness. Some women fall for this type of man because he seems kind, laid back, and emotionally available. And he might be all of those things. But kindness without direction leads nowhere. A gentle man without goals can still waste your time, your energy, and your potential. Just because someone feels emotionally safe doesn't mean they're ready to build a real future. Readiness isn't just about affection, it's about intention. A man who's ready for love knows what he wants to create, not just how he wants to feel. 7. Time is too precious to spend in limbo. One of the most dangerous parts of dating a man with no goals is the illusion of potential. You keep waiting for him to wake up, to commit to something, to take that next step. But more often than not, someday never comes. And while you're waiting, you're losing time. You're investing your best energy in someone who isn't moving. That emotional limbo becomes your everyday reality. And eventually, you realize you've stayed too long in a story that never had a plot. 8. You deserve to be with a man who's going somewhere. You don't need someone who's already at the top. But you do need someone who's climbing, who's trying, who's hungry to grow, who wakes up every day with a purpose and the courage to pursue it. Because when you're with a man who has goals, life becomes more vibrant. Conversations have depth. Plans feel exciting. Challenges become opportunities. You both pull each other forward, and every step feels intentional. That's the kind of relationship that lasts. That's the kind of love that builds legacies. The man with no goals might be sweet, kind, and full of charm. But charm without direction leads to nowhere. And you weren't meant to go in circles, you were meant to grow, to build, to thrive. So if you meet a man who has no clear sense of where he's going, don't wait around hoping he'll figure it out. That's not your job. You're not here to rescue someone from stagnation. You're here to partner with someone who's already walking towards something real. Because you deserve more than a relationship stuck in neutral. You deserve love in motion, love with vision, purpose, and the courage to move forward. Type 6. The man who makes you feel small. It often starts quietly. Maybe it's a subtle comment. A small joke at your expense. A comparison slipped into the conversation that stings just a little too much. You brush it off, thinking, maybe I'm too sensitive. But as time goes on, you notice a pattern. Around him, you start to question your worth, your ideas, even your identity. This is the man who makes you feel small. And no matter how charming he may appear, this behavior is not a personality quirk. It's a red flag. Because love should never shrink you, it should expand you. 1. Undermining in disguise. The man who makes you feel small doesn't always do it overtly. He might not yell or insult you directly. Instead, he chips away at your confidence in subtle ways. He corrects you unnecessarily. He interrupts you. He questions your choices in a way that feels more judgmental than curious. He might frame it as just being honest, just teasing, or trying to help. But deep down, you feel a little more insecure every time you talk to him. And that's no accident. That's how control often begins, disguised as concern. 2. Comparison is his weapon of choice. A common tactic used by men like this is comparison. He compares you to his ex, to his female friends, to other women who are supposedly more intelligent, more driven, more attractive, or more successful. He might say things like, "You're not really into deep stuff like she was," or "Other girls I've dated were more ambitious." These statements are not observations. They're designed to lower your self-esteem and place you in a competition you never signed up for. And the more you try to prove your worth, the more power he gains. 3. You start doubting yourself. In healthy relationships, you become more of who you are. You feel safe, supported, and seen. But when you're with a man who constantly makes you feel less than, something inside you starts to shrink. You second-guess your decisions. You hesitate to speak up. You start asking for permission when you used to stand tall in your truth. Over time, your self-esteem erodes, not because you've changed, but because someone has been slowly, consistently feeding your doubt. 4. His insecurity masquerades as superiority. Ironically, men who make others feel small are often the most insecure themselves. They feel threatened by strong, confident women, so they try to break them down. It's a defense mechanism rooted in fear, not strength. But just because someone is wounded doesn't mean they have the right to wound you. Emotional immaturity is not an excuse for disrespect. If a man needs to diminish you to feel powerful, he is not a leader, he is a liability to your growth. 5. Subtle control is still control. This kind of man might not try to control where you go or who you see, at least not at first. But he'll try to control how you see yourself. He'll shape your self-perception through passive comments, sarcasm, and withholding praise. You'll start to feel like your wins are never quite enough, like your personality is always too much or not enough. This isn't love, it's control through emotional imbalance. He keeps you chasing his approval, hoping that maybe, if you change just a little more, you'll finally earn his full acceptance. But you never will. Because it was never about you, it was always about his need to dominate. 6. You walk away from conversations feeling drained. You don't need a psychology degree to sense when something is off. After talking to this man, you often feel tired, drained, smaller than you were before. Your voice feels weaker, your confidence lower, and your energy scattered. That's the cost of constant subtle devaluation. You may not be able to name it immediately, but your body and your heart know. That heavy feeling? It's not in your imagination. It's your soul telling you this is not a safe space. 7. Real love lifts you higher. True love isn't threatened by your strength, it celebrates it. A man who's truly secure in himself won't compete with you. He won't diminish your light to make his shine brighter. Instead, he'll add fuel to your fire. He'll encourage your dreams, respect your voice, and remind you how powerful you are, even when you forget. The right man will make you feel braver, not smaller. He'll challenge you in ways that help you grow, not shrink. And he'll never make you question whether you're too much for being fully yourself. 8. Don't stay where you feel small just because it's familiar. Sometimes, we stay in relationships with men who make us feel small because we're used to that feeling. Maybe we've been taught to doubt ourselves. Maybe we've learned to measure our value through someone else's approval. But familiarity is not the same as safety. You don't have to stay where you are constantly proving, pleasing, or performing. You don't have to silence your voice to keep the peace. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are simply waking up to the truth of what you deserve. If you leave a date or a conversation feeling smaller, that's your sign. A man who truly sees you will never speak in ways that make you doubt your light. He will not weaponize your vulnerability, and he will never make you feel like your strength is a threat. You deserve to stand tall in a relationship. To be heard. To be respected. To be celebrated, not criticized. Don't settle for a connection that costs you your confidence. Walk away from the one who shrinks you, and walk toward the life where you can finally take up the space you were always meant to. Conclusion. The first date isn't just about finding chemistry, it's about paying attention. The way a man speaks, behaves, and treats others tells you everything you need to know about who he truly is. You don't need to wait for heartbreak to see the red flags. Most of them wave clearly from the very beginning. Whether it's the man who only talks about himself, the one who disrespects others, badmouths his ex, rushes physical intimacy, lacks purpose, or makes you feel small. Each one reveals a crucial truth: if he doesn't value you from the start, he's not going to value you later. You are not difficult for having standards. You are not too much for wanting respect, depth, and intention. The right man will never make you feel like you have to earn the bare minimum. He will see your worth, clearly, instantly, and consistently. So trust what you feel. If something feels off, don't explain it away. If you feel drained instead of energized, don't stay to see if it improves. Love doesn't begin in discomfort. It begins in safety, mutual respect, and emotional presence. You are not here to fix, chase, or prove. You are here to build something real, with someone who is ready, respectful, and right for you. Protect your heart. And don't be afraid to walk away early, because your peace is far more precious than potential. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. Hopefully the sharing about love and lessons from this video will help you have new thoughts and find empathy. If you find the video useful, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel and share it with those around you. Each of us has our own stories about love, and I'm happy to explore them with you. See you in the next videos. Wish you a wonderful and loving day.